All right, you guys, I'm feeling a little bit rushed. Quinn's down for his afternoon nap per the usual, but he's been down for his nap for an hour and a half. So I'm not sure how much longer he's going to be asleep for. So obviously this guy wants to join us and our other little man might join us too. So we'll just see how long I can talk with you guys without interruptions. Welcome to today's video. It is going to be another Q&A. I think I've done 2 of these now and you guys seem to really enjoy them. So I am going to be doing them more often and I love doing these because I get to interact with you guys more, and this gives you guys an opportunity to ask me questions that's not through a DM, and I can maybe elaborate a little bit more. When you guys send me DMs, I love those, by the way. It's just that I get behind on them really easily because my life's busy and it's just chaotic, and it's like hard for me to sit down and type like a detailed message to you guys. So by me doing these Q&As, I feel like I can answer your guys' questions a little bit more thoroughly. So I have a couple screenshots of your guys' questions. I have quite a few good questions. I'm so excited to answer these for you guys. So hopefully this helps those of you out who ask me questions. Oh, and of course, by the way, I'm drinking coffee, but this time it's my collagen coffee. Normally I have my cold iced protein coffee in the afternoon, but it's been a little bit chilly and it rained on us this morning. So I'm doing my collagen coffee. And of course the collagen I use is from Phorm. It's super creamy. I use the unflavored because I don't like sweet coffee. I know I'm very weird, but Phorm also has flavored collagen, and their collagen's like super creamy and mixes really well in hot coffee. And of course with my postpartum hair loss, which my postpartum hair loss is not terrible, but it's enough to where I am losing more hair than normal. But I do feel like collagen is really helping my hair maybe stay in a little bit better and maybe prevent so much loss from happening. I've been taking collagen every day for years now, and I've just switched to Phorm because I'm sponsored by them now, and also I really like their collagen. It is very creamy. Also, for those of you who are brand new, welcome. I upload 1 video every week, Sunday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, all about living healthy, IVF, fertility health. So if you're into all that stuff, I hope you enjoy the videos. And for those of you who are a returning subscriber, thank you for watching, and let's go. All right, so these questions aren't gonna be in any particular order. I'm just gonna go down the list, and I haven't looked at them yet either, so I'm hoping I can answer them somewhat thoroughly for you guys and that they're helpful. So first question, anxiety going into transfer. I am so scared it will fail that I keep putting it off. Yeah, I was very scared too because the thought of it failing terrified me. Yeah, anxiety is super normal going into transfer day. Like I said, the fear of failing is just terrifying. And honestly, the way I handled it was kind of like a fuck it mentality. That's probably not the healthiest way of looking at the transfer. I think what ultimately helped my anxiety is I knew it was all out of my control. And I knew the embryo was either gonna stick or it wasn't. There's really nothing I could have done or could do to make it stick. And so I just really had the mentality of, okay, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. If it's not gonna happen, well, it's not meant to be right now. It's not the right time. And I really do believe in fate. I believe that the universe has the best plan for us. And especially if we just roll with it and just let it happen, like it's gonna happen the way it's supposed to. And maybe it does fail the first time. I just had to remind myself that if it fails, like that's how it's supposed to be right now and it's not the right time. So I don't know if that helps at all, but just know that if it's gonna stick, it's gonna stick. If it's not gonna stick, it's not gonna stick. Like there's really nothing you can do to like make the transfer successful. So I just went into it being like, okay, let's just see what happens. I can't do anything about it, so we'll just see. And I mean, obviously it worked, but it is such a toss up. So I think that's also what makes anxiety even worse, especially if you're a control freak like me, because you really can't, it's all out of our hands. So I'm not sure if that helps or not, but just do it. You got this. I know you can do it. How much in average should one consider when it comes to cost of IVF? Thanks. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is gonna depend on if you have insurance, if your insurance covers IVF, what country you live in, because some countries do cover some IVF costs and some countries actually cover the whole thing. So this depends on a lot of factors. So for me, I live in the United States of America, obviously. I live in Washington. Ignore Yuma. He's freaking out. It says dog park time and it is not time to go to the dog park, but he thinks it is. My insurance does not cover IVF. It actually doesn't cover anything that falls under the infertility umbrella. And I'm finding out most people's insurances don't cover IVF at all. This is also depending on where you go for your IVF treatments. So for me, I went to Seattle. I went to Seattle Reproductive Medicine. They're more on the expensive side. Their success rates are really high. And I kind of did like a package deal. So if I paid for 2 IVF cycles up front, it was cheaper than paying for 1 at a time. So that's what I did. I paid for 2 egg retrieval surgeries up front, and then the transfer was a separate cost. So for me, including all the lab draws, the meds, the 2 egg retrieval surgeries, the transfer, all the meds with the transfer. I'm probably in close to $50,000. Obviously Quinn's worth it, but I'm like, dude, you already cost me 50 grand and I didn't even have you yet. What do you think about Dreamland baby weighted sleep sack? Okay, I love the Dreamland baby weighted sleep sack. So a lot of you who follow on Instagram know that that's all Quinn slept in his first 5 months of life. So I just bought the sleep sack for, I think it's like 6 to 12 months, which he's not in yet. He's in the Magic Merlin like transition sleep suit because he wasn't ready to go to the sleep sack right after being in a swaddle. So he was in the Dreamland weighted swaddle for the first 5 months of his life and he loved it. I had him in that from day one when we brought him home. And it was a little bit big on him because he was such a small baby. He was 3 weeks early and he was 6 pounds. He was just really small in it, but he still loved the weight. And so yeah, he was in that for the first 5 months of his life every single night. And what's nice about the weighted one is it helps like baby calm down because it's not so much weight that they suffocate. That's kind of like a misconception. People think that, oh, it's weighted, like it's bad for the breathing. No, it's not that much weight. It's just little beads on the chest area, actually the whole front, just weighted beads. And it's just enough weight to where like you're placing your hand very gently on their chest, and babies love that. And so it kind of mimics that. And I would zip that thing up and he would know it was bedtime and he would know it was time to fall asleep. And he just loved that thing to the point where when he started rolling at 5 months, I had to transition him out of it. And it was like the worst few nights of my life with him because he wasn't in it anymore. And he was like flailing his arms around. He wasn't very comfortable. And I had him in the weighted sleep sack, but it was just his arms were the problem. So now he's in the Magic Merlin transition sleep suit, which he likes, which I can get into that like later if you guys have more questions on that. But I do have the weighted sleep sack for 6 to 12 months, which I'll put him in when he's ready. But yeah, highly recommend. Any dental issues during pregnancy? Heard the gums are more sensitive and bleeds more. So I didn't have any dental problems during pregnancy, but I had a teeth cleaning done when I was 18 or 19 weeks and my gums bled more than normal. I have very sensitive teeth and very sensitive gums as it is, but I remember them cleaning my teeth and doing the whole scraping thing, which is, well, I hate the dentist, but doing the scraping thing and the flossing, and I was bleeding a lot more. And the hygienist was telling me, oh yeah, that's normal for your gums to bleed right now. You know, pregnancy will do that. So other than that, I didn't experience any dental problems, but I do hear that your gums bleed more. Mine did bleed a little bit more, but not outside of like getting my teeth cleaned, like at home when I was flossing and stuff. I didn't really notice a whole lot of bleeding. To answer your question, I didn't have any actual problems during pregnancy, but I do hear that some people do. Your mouth is just more sensitive in general. Was Quinn circumcised? If yes, was it hard to take care of him? As a nurse, do you recommend? So Quinn was circumcised at 2 weeks. Now, I think I've mentioned this in a previous video, like a postpartum video, that I didn't know hospitals don't circumcise babies right after birth anymore. And I'm hearing it's because of insurance. Of course, insurance doesn't cover it. So Quinn was born and then we had to make a separate appointment with a pediatrician to get him circumcised, and his own pediatrician doesn't do circumcisions. So we had to find a pediatrician that actually does circumcisions. It was really hard to find. I was so surprised. I was like, does no one circumcise their kids anymore? So we had to drive 40 minutes away from where we live to go to a specific pediatrician that still does circumcisions. It all went well. It was not hard to take care of him afterwards. And the way that they do, at least this pediatrician said, this is like the new way of doing circumcisions now. I guess the old way was they would like cut the foreskin off, but now they put a ring around it to actually cut off the foreskin circulation. And the procedure was only like 2 minutes, and they gave him sugar water to help like keep him calm. Quinn didn't cry at all. So he just put a ring around like the foreskin area, and that ring after about, I think 2 days fell off with the foreskin. So that's how his circumcision worked. It was easy to take care of him. I think the first day he was pretty sore, like the next day he was kind of sore down there, and so I would kind of be gentle when I was wiping him. But other than that, like after a couple days, the ring fell off with the foreskin, and that was that. It was very easy. I recommend circumcision because otherwise you have to like really clean and make sure that like everything's clean down there, because if not, babies are a lot more likely to get UTIs. And then when he gets older into a little boy, you have to teach him how to clean the foreskin and make sure it's clean down there. And it's like, no, I don't want to deal with that. From a hygiene standpoint, I wanted to get it done. Varicose veins postpartum. Oh, I'm so lucky. I've never had varicose veins before, which I'm very surprised because I've been a nurse for 16 years. And you know, being a nurse, works 12-hour shifts, like lots of standing and everything, I am pretty good about wearing my compression stockings all the time, which I think helps. But I also hear that you can get varicose veins, especially at the end of your pregnancy. And luckily I don't have any, so I can't answer this question really that well. But I can say that if you have a family history of varicose veins, like if your mom has them or siblings have them, then you're more likely to develop them also. It tends to be genetic. So if you know that and you're pregnant, highly recommend wearing compression socks when you can, because that will help prevent them. But unfortunately, a lot of it's genetic and it's just gonna happen if it's gonna happen. I mainly do weightlifting and walk incline. Do you recommend any workouts to add? Not really. Like, that's pretty much what I do too. I mean, I do a lot of circuit training, I do some yoga and Pilates, but weightlifting and walking is great. You're walking on incline for cardio, weightlifting for strength. Like, I wouldn't change anything, I guess, unless you're pregnant. But I still weightlifted during pregnancy and walked. Did a lot of walking during IVF and pregnancy. I think walking is like the best form of exercise when you're going through IVF and when you're pregnant, and also postpartum too. Walking's just wonderful for your body. But weightlifting is really nice because there's that strength training component to it that's not high impact. So you can do weightlifting during pregnancy. You can't really do it during IVF because you really can't work out during IVF, which I did a whole video series on that. I'll link down below if you're interested in what you can do in terms of workouts during IVF. So go check that video out if you haven't yet and want to know kind of how to stay in shape during IVF. During pregnancy, weightlifting is really good for you, especially if it's low impact and you're not doing any like abs, or like, if you're sticking with pregnancy safe workouts. So I wouldn't change anything if that's what you like doing. Secondary IVF, would it be different than the first? So I reached out to this person and wanted to clarify, what do you mean by secondary IVF? Does that mean secondary infertility, or does that mean second round of IVF? And this person clarified by saying that she's dealing with secondary infertility. So she's worried about it being emotionally difficult to go through IVF after dealing with secondary infertility. So either way, whether you're dealing with secondary infertility, if you're going through your second round of IVF, if it's your second time and like you've been going through a lot, like of course it's gonna be emotionally draining. I've never gone through secondary infertility. I know a couple people who have, and I know that they've struggled emotionally just because it seems like secondary infertility, not that it's harder than like infertility in general, but you already have your baby, your child, and then all of a sudden you can't anymore. And it's like, well, what happened? It just seems like it's more emotional, but it's just kind of like my outsider's perspective looking in. I've never gone through it personally. I wouldn't let the fear of emotions hold you back from doing IVF, because you might regret not doing IVF, like looking back, and maybe regret not trying just because you were scared. But going through IVF because of secondary infertility, yeah, I think it's gonna be hard. But if you have things in place to help with your mental health, like if you know going for walks helps your mental health, like if you know that workouts help with your mentality, if you do meditation and that helps, whatever helps your mental health, make sure you do those things every day, because that will really help you get through. But again, it's like fear of the unknown, and also just reminding yourself that like you give it your best shot and that's all you can do is just your best. Okay, I think this one's just a comment. I love all your content. I just had my second FET today and currently in the 2-week waiting period. Oh, yay. Oh, thank you. Getting comments like this, like telling me that you love my content and you're so appreciative of the videos, it really helps me. I'm so appreciative of you guys. I feel like I put all this content out there and do videos for you guys, but I feel like you guys help me more, especially when I was going through IVF and vlogging and everything. You guys were so encouraging through my whole journey, and even now as I'm going through postpartum and navigating all that, you guys are the best. But thank you. It's a very sweet comment. These comments really do help me keep creating videos, because videos are very time consuming and they're a lot of work, and I do them because I like doing it and I like helping you guys out, and in turn you guys help me out. Like, this is a great community that we've built. But sometimes I question myself, like, oh my gosh, this is taking me so long. Like, Quinn's screaming, like Yuma needs to be walked, but I still, like today, like Quinn is about to wake up any second. Yuma is pouting in the corner because he needs to be walked. And I'm like, this is not the right time to film. But this is literally the only time I can film is right now, because tomorrow I work, the next day things are happening. Like, it's just, this is the only time to film. And so thank you so much for thanking me for the videos, because it just helps me keep producing them and keep interacting with you guys. So thank you. When did you start pumping? So I didn't pump at all for the first 4 weeks. And the reason for that is because I was just purely following my lactation nurse's instructions. I had no idea what I was doing, and she recommended I not pump for the first month. And I think it's because she wanted to make sure my body was auto auto-regulating how much milk it needed to produce for baby, and she didn't want my body to be confused with pumping. Now that I've been through it, second baby, I'm hoping that I have a second baby, I am gonna pump the first month, because the problem I ran into was Quinn hated the bottle for so long. I feel like if I started pumping the first month and started giving him a bottle like pretty quickly right away, he would have been better with the bottle faster. But then my lactation nurse was saying that she was worried about nipple confusion. But you guys, you put anything in a baby's mouth, they'll suck. I don't really believe in nipple confusion, honestly. After like having watched my nieces and nephews, and I have a bunch of sisters, younger sisters, I remember growing up, like my mom would do both breastfeed and bottle. Like, I don't know if there is such a thing. I mean, I'm sure there is such a thing as nipple confusion, but like, I don't know that Quinn had ever nipple confusion. He just didn't like the bottle because he wasn't used to the bottle. It was a hard plastic, whereas my boob is like soft. And anyways, I think I would do it differently second time around. I would pump the first month. Did you have to go through any progesterone suppositories? I think this is how you pronounce it, vaginismus, and it gives me anxiety. Actually don't know what that is. Yes, I did have to go through progesterone suppositories. You're fine, bud. So yeah, I had to do progesterone vaginal suppositories twice a day for 13 weeks. So the same amount of time I had to do the progesterone and oil injections. And I didn't have any problems with them. The suppositories were just really annoying because I'd have to put the first one in the morning and that would just leak out, like white stuff would leak out of my vagina all day long. So I'd have to wear a pad all day. It's super annoying. Then I'd have to put another one in at night. And of course then I'd leak all night. I just leaked all the time. And it was just very annoying. Did you used to take the progesterone oil shots every day or every other day? So every day, oh my gosh. When I heard that there was an option to do it every other day, like some of you only had to do your progesterone oil injections every other day, I was so jealous. I had to do it every day for 13 weeks. So I started the progesterone oil injections 6 days before my transfer and then 12 weeks after that, so the first trimester. So as we're planning on doing a second transfer next year, I'm finding out that I'm probably gonna have to do those again. Who makes the dinner nowadays? So Josh does, thank the Lord. He knows how to cook. He's a very good cook. He actually taught me how to cook, fun fact, when we first got married, because I didn't grow up cooking. My mom never was a cook, so I didn't know how to cook when we got married. So I would say like starting at 6 or 7 weeks of my pregnancy, I stopped cooking and Josh did all the cooking because I had so many food aversions and I was nauseous at night. I couldn't cook. Since then, since 7 weeks pregnant, he's been doing all the dinners. And I do all of Quinn's bedtime stuff, so he's just continued to do all the dinners. Anything during pregnancy you wish you would have done differently? So the first thing that comes to my mind is my mental health. I did a whole video on this, which I'll link down below, and this was a few weeks ago that I did this video. And it was just like a really honest sort of confession video telling you guys how I felt during postpartum because I didn't enjoy my pregnancy. I didn't allow myself to enjoy my pregnancy. So I wish that my mental health was a little bit healthier during pregnancy. I didn't believe my pregnancy for the longest time. I didn't allow myself to believe it. Didn't allow myself to enjoy it, thinking that something bad was gonna happen. So I'm still mourning the fact that I basically mentally missed my entire pregnancy because I was guarding my heart so much, thinking that if I allowed myself to like fully enjoy the pregnancy and be happy about it, then something bad was gonna happen. So I wish I had allowed myself to enjoy my pregnancy more. How is it at the new house versus previous home? So I'm currently in our new house, well, old new. It's an old house that we've been renovating. So a lot of you probably remember that we moved into this house when Quinn was 3 months old, so now a few months ago. And we used to live in our fourplex that we bought a couple years ago, right before COVID hit. We've been renovating also. So once we were done renovating the fourplex, we decided to buy our next property, another fixer-upper of course, which was this house. And we just happened to buy this house right before I delivered. And we'd been looking for another property since like the previous August. So we had been looking for another property when I first got pregnant. So it took us a good 6-7 months to find this house. And of course we found it right before I gave birth. So we were just starting the major renovations on this house when Quinn was born. And honestly, now looking back, like I can't believe we got through it. Like having a newborn, first time parents and renovating, I was like, wow, I don't really know how we did it now looking back. So we lived in our fourplex before when we were renovating it, and we renovated one unit at a time. And so we lived in one of the units just because it's easier to renovate while living there. So we lived there for a couple of years, and then the unit that we were living in is just way too small. It was only 700 square feet. We were already cramped with Yuma and us and then our cat. So then throwing a baby in there is just like not enough space. So now that we've renovated this house house is 3,000 square feet. It's huge. So we don't have enough furniture to fill the house. So a lot of the house is empty still. But yeah, we love this house. It's so much bigger, so much more space. We love all the windows, how open it is. But it took a lot of energy and time and money to get this house to where it is now. What's Quinn's sleep schedule night/day look like? So Quinn is 6 months. So Quinn actually turns 6 months today according to his gestational age. I'm filming this video September 20th and his due date was March 20th. So he's actually turned 6 months today according to his gestational age, but he's actually 7 months next week because I had him 3 weeks early. And I say all that because he's been everything he's been tracking according to his gestational age. Now that he's 6 months, almost 7 months, I finally have him on a pretty good nap schedule and he knows when it's nap time and his body clock is telling him that it's nap time. So this is kind of our schedule on my days off, and I only work 2 days a week. So on my work days, he goes to daycare, but the rest of the days I take care of him. We always do a walk first thing in the morning. So around 7:30, I put him in the stroller. He loves his walk. So we do a walk and Yuma needs the walk too. So all three of us walk, and then that takes about an hour. We get back, I make some breakfast, drink some coffee, make a bottle for him. He plays a little bit. And then around 9:30, I start feeding him a bottle. And then he's in his crib by 10 and he normally naps from 10 to 12. On a good day, he naps 2 hours. This kid really doesn't nap very well. He never has. But if I can get him to stay in his crib for a couple hours, that's good. Generally, he sleeps an hour to an hour and a half. So napping between 10 and 12. And then I get him up and he's not hungry right away because I normally feed him at 9:30. So he's not quite hungry yet. So we do some tummy time around noon, maybe some playing. And then around 12:31, now that he's eating solids, I start feeding him some oatmeal cereal. So depending on the day, either oatmeal or some form of a puree, like maybe pureed peas or carrots or something like that. So we eat something around 12:30. And then by then it's about 1:30, I start feeding him another bottle. And then by 2, he's napping again. So then he naps between 2 and 4. Like I said, it's a good day if he naps for 2 hours. Normally it's about an hour to an hour and a half. So by 4, he's up again, do more playing. Normally by about 4, Yuma is like restless, like he is now. And we go outside in the backyard, and Quinn loves being outside in the sun. So we hang out in the backyard for a while. Depending on the day, maybe we go to the park. And then by that time, it's like 6:30. I start feeding him some dinner, which is normally like pureed vegetables. I started him on pureed chicken the other night. He loves that. And then 7 o'clock is bath time. 7:30, I feed him a bottle and he is in bed by like 7:45. For the past month, he's been waking up around 3 or 4 to nurse. So I'll nurse him around 3 or 4 for 15-20 minutes, put him back to bed. He falls asleep until about 6:37. And then we do it all over again. So that's been his schedule for the past, solid month, maybe a little bit longer than that. Okay, so it looks like that is all the questions. I think I've answered all of them. So those of you who asked questions, thank you so much for asking them. And on that note, Quinn is awake, so perfect timing. Hopefully that was helpful for those of you who asked questions. Thank you so much, you guys, for being such a great community on here. I've just really enjoyed all your guys' comments and interactions. There's a few of you who I interact with a lot, and I wish someday I could meet you in person. Those of you going through IVF, as always, keep going. You got this. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it because it really helps support my channel. I will see you in the next one, and always remember to be kind to yourself.